Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, I mentioned in a video recently when I was working on grinding some straight edges that my surface grinder suddenly started having some issues the other day. I was doing a grinding job and I flipped it off to change some parts out. When I went to turn it back on, I was getting this terrible noise and the spindle wasn't turning like it needs to be. Well, I immediately suspected when I had the problem that it was something to do with the motor or the drive system on this thing. But at the time, I really couldn't get here and troubleshoot it because this machine was up against the wall and the access to all the belts and the pulleys and the backside of the motor was all where I really just couldn't get to it. So I had to get some help over, and we were able to pick the machine up and move it over here. It was not a big deal. I just needed a couple of extra hands or one extra hand so that I could jack it up and get some shims up underneath it where we could put a pallet jack up under the machine and move it. Got it over here now, and now that I've got it over here, I think I have troubleshooted and figured out what the problem is. So let me take you around to the back and we'll show you what's going on. All right, so I've got you looking through a hole in the back of the machine where you can see the drive pulley. Now, you can see the motor is kind of back here, and this is a drive pulley. There's two pulleys on here. One powers the spindle, and the other one drives the automatic feed. And I've taken the belts off of it. And when I was able to get the belts off of it and get in there and feel around what was going on, it became very obvious as to what's going on here. So I'm going to reach down in here, and I'm going to take a pry bar, and I'm just very gently going to push. See my pulley? It has become unconnected from the shaft on the motor. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm assuming that this is a keyed shaft and there's probably a set screw or something there that holds it all together. And I don't know exactly how or why it happened, but it appears that my key has come out and is gone. So at this point in time, what I think we're going to do is we're going to pull the motor out and where we can get in here and look at this. Unfortunately, there's just not good access for me to work on it where it's at right now. I need to pull the motor out to be able to see exactly what's going on and figure out what we can do to get it fixed and try to figure out why it actually happened to begin with. So let's go back around to the front and look at seeing what we got to do to pull this thing out. So now I got you down here looking inside the front of the machine where you can see the motor down here. And the way this is mounted is you can see right here, you got a piece of round rod that runs across the back side of this motor. There's a frame up underneath it that actually pivots on that rod. And there's a couple of bushings on there that kind of keep it from sliding from end to end. And it's done this way so that basically, if you look here, it pivots on there, so the weight of the motor is what's putting the weight on the belts to keep the belts tight. So it's kind of a neat design. It looks like the easiest thing for me to do is there's two bolts, one on the front and one on the back, socket cap screws that hold that rod in place, and I'm hoping if we take those two out that we can just slide the whole motor out and bring that whole rod with it. We'll probably have to disconnect the power once we get it around here where I can get to the connectors, and hopefully we can pull it out of there without too much trouble. So let's see what we can do about getting that out. Got a Allen wrench in here, and we'll go ahead and loosen this one up. This one's going to be the easy one to get out. The one on the back is going to be tough just because there's not a good way to get to it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this one out. All right, that bolt not coming all the way out. This might be a problem. So I think what's going on here, when I loosen this up, the piece on the bottom was moving around. It had me a little bit concerned, but I think the bolt actually goes all the way through that down to the floor. So that might actually help getting it out. I'm not sure. All right, let's go around to the back side and see if we can figure out how to get that one out. That one's going to be a nightmare of just getting access to it. So this side didn't turn out to be quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. I put a bunch of extensions on my impact driver. I've got a universal joint here and went down to a Allen wrench that fit down onto the bolt. And I was able to feed this down in there, get around everything I need to get around, and just zipped it right out, no problem at all. So going back in, well, now that may be another story. Trying to get that hole aligned down there is going to be a booger bear, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I got my motor kind of up on some wooden blocks in here just to kind of make it roll come out the door a little bit easier, and I slid it around sideways and disconnected my power. Got my 3 leads disconnected, and I just put some different color tape on these different leads to know which ones to put them back on. So anyway, got the electrical out there, and this motor is ready to pull out. I think what I'm going to do is probably put a sling around it and use my engine hoist to come in here and just pick it right out of there. That's the plan. Well, guys, I got some luck here. Miles showed up. He came home for the weekend from college and stopped by the shop, and I'm putting him to work. So we're going to fish this motor out of there. I've got a sling around it. We've got the engine hoist going here. It's going to be a lot easier now with Miles, so he can kind of guide it out of there, and I'll kind of pull up on this with the engine hoist. I've done this kind of before, pulling them out. Just go ahead and slide that out a little bit down there at the bottom, Miles. You're going to have to come straight out. Turn it. Yeah. Yep. Of course, I got my pulley on, or my sling on the pulley. Hopefully it will. I'll tell you what, let's go down with it, and we're going to sling that a little bit better. I don't like the way that's going. There we go. I'm going to pick it up and put it on my workbench where I don't have to bend over to work on it. Sucks getting old. Watch your foot. Turn it 90 degrees toward me. There you go. Right there. So, there's our pulley. Comes out. We're missing the key. And dug around the bottom of the machine, and there's the key. So I'm not exactly sure how this came out, why it came out, but these keyways or keys are important when you're driving a pulley. Now there is a set screw in here, and the set screw is still in there. It looks like it's just backed out, so I'm gonna see if we can't put all this back together. All right, so I'm gonna slide this back up on here. There we go. And the set screw is still good. Somehow or another it just worked its way loose. I have no idea. But that should take care of that problem. I think while I got this out, I'm going to clean the motor up and clean up underneath the machine, and we'll see about putting them back together. So upon further consideration here, I pulled that set screw back out, and we're going to put some Loctite on it. So hopefully it won't come back out again. So here we go. That should stay put. All right, we're putting it back in. You ready, Miles?
You're gonna have to lift it up, Dad.
Lift it up just a tad. Okay, that's about as high as I can go before we hit the
Put it down.
Yeah, just kind of push it up in there. Kind of swing that front up and over. Kind of push down on the back and kind of raise the front up. There you go. There you go. There we go. You ready? I'm going to lower it down some more.
Okay, go. Can you give up from that side?
Yep. All right.
There we go.
Okay. This is tough. You can't see anything. I'm just feeling everything. All right, that should be started. I don't think it's tight. It shouldn't be tight, but hopefully it won't come out. You need to.
I need to get this motor over about an inch this way.
All right, well, you should be able to pivot it. All right.
There's the
Well, you can, okay, it needs to move over to your left just a smidgen. Just take your head and bump it. Yeah, right, that's good. Try that. Oh,
I got threads.
yeah, there's only one problem.
What?
I forgot to hook the electrical up first. Well, I think we got success. That's what we're supposed to have. So we're back to running. Mission accomplished. Thankful it was something simple. I was worried that something else may have been wrong with that pulley. I kind of suspected it may have been a key, but you're always worried that something else mess up in there as well. But I think we're good to go. The only issue that I have now, and this is another separate issue that kind of came up about the same time the other one did, and I was basically been using this machine manually because my automatic feed quit working. It's supposed to be when you pull up on this handle right here, the table automatically feeds back and forth, but for some reason that has quit working, and that's a separate issue, and I'm going to have to tear into this machine and figure out what's going on there. I think it has something to do with the whole automatic feed, and I've got the manual on it. Basically, I'm going to have to pull all that stuff out and just figure out what's going wrong. I think we may have something like a sheared pin or a key or something like that going on in there as well. At least that's what I'm hoping. So that's going to be another video, and we'll be tackling that soon as well. So Miles, thank you for showing up at the
Always
proper
glad to
time.
help.
At the absolute perfect time and giving me a hand with this. I would have been taking me twice as long or longer to do this by myself. So it was definitely a two-person job, and appreciate you coming by.
Welcome.
Thanks. All right, with that, guys, we'll be a wrap. We'll see you guys later.